Welcome back to my channel. I'm Kat Saves and I'm on a mission to help you shop smarter and save money. You're wasting so much money by repurchasing the same item over and over again. When you buy cheap, you buy twice, and in a lot of cases you actually end up buying multiple times. So I've personally been making more of a conscious effort to shop more sustainably and just buy more zero waste products, and all of this is in the name of saving money. And I will just say that doing a little bit here and there is always better than doing nothing, so don't feel like you have to do absolutely everything and go completely green in order to save money. It's just, you know, making little swaps here and there that are all going to add up and make a difference. So here are some of my absolute favorite super simple sustainable swaps to make. Make sure you leave me a comment sharing your favorite sustainable product. I absolutely love hearing other people's recommendations. And subscribe to my YouTube if you're not already, because I share a lot of money saving and shopping content, tips and vlogs. Okay, so this first one might be a little bit obvious to some people, but reusable cleansing pads are honestly a game changer. And I've been seeing more of these pop up in so many different shops recently. Honestly, they are everywhere. So you can literally just pop them in the washing machine once you are done with them and just reuse them as many times as possible. Literally reuse them and wash them and reuse them until they absolutely fall apart. These are so much more sustainable than makeup wipes or cotton pads that are just single-use items. You use them once and then you throw them in the bin. And you can actually buy reusable cleansing pads in so many different colors, shapes, sizes for incredibly affordable prices. They sell them in Primark for like between £1 and £3, depending on which style, which shape, which color. They literally have so many. I have seen so many in Primark. And just imagine how many uses you get out of these compared to if you buy a pack of cotton pads, which I think in Boots they're about £1.80, something like that, for like a pack of 50, and you probably get through maybe 2 of those a day when you wear makeup. So honestly, this is gonna save you so much money. And I recently actually picked up a brand new packet of reusable microfiber cloths from Primark, and like, I've used them a few times now. I think they're really good. I would definitely recommend. And honestly, Primark have so many different types. You will definitely find some that suit you best. So number 2 is reusable washing up sponges and cloths. Now, I used to buy those really cheap sponges, you know, the ones that you get in like a pack of 6 to 8 maybe, and they're like really thin. They've got the scourer on one side and the sponge on one side. They're like 30p for a packet. I used to buy those all the time, and let me tell you, I was using them, each sponge, maybe a couple of times, a handful of times. They were completely falling apart, and I would just be repurchasing these sponges over and over and over again. And you might think, oh, they're only 30p, they're only 50p, but you're going to be buying these 50p sponges for the rest of your life, and it is literally just going to add up. Not to mention, you are throwing so many things in the bin, and it is just not good for the environment. So I've recently switched to using these reusable sponges and cloths that are made out of recycled materials. M&S do some really good ones. Honestly, I can't recommend them enough. And they're all pretty affordable as well. And honestly, it's a very easy swap to do as long as you look after the products properly. You know, you've got to rinse them off, make sure they dry properly. You don't want them to be like harboring bacteria and stuff like that. So as long as you are looking after these products, you can reuse them over and over again. And again, with the cloths and stuff, you can just throw them in the washing machine, and if they are good enough quality, they're not going to fall apart. You can wash them and reuse them over and over again. Another great tip is actually using old clothing for this. I know a lot of people like to cut up old clothing into rags and you use these as your like cleaning cloths. I think that is a great idea, and I would definitely recommend doing that as well. So number 3, takeaway cups are an absolute must. And there are a couple of ways that takeaway cups are going to save you money. So the first way is by making your own drinks at home and taking them with you. This is just going to stop you from buying coffee and tea while you're out. We all know how expensive things are these days. I went to a cafe recently, and a tiny little cup of tea, it was literally like a teacup of tea. It cost me £4, and I just thought, do you know what, next time I might as well just make my tea at home and then bring it out with me in my takeaway cup. But if you do want to treat yourself to a takeaway coffee, if you take your own cup into a coffee shop or a cafe, usually they will give you some money off of your order. Sometimes it's 25p, sometimes it's 50p, but again, you know, these things all add up. And if you do like to do that, you do like to treat yourself to a coffee, that's absolutely fine. But if you just take your own cup, you just got to remember to take your own cup with you. That's probably the hardest part, remembering to take it out. But if you do that, then you will often get a little bit of money off. And you know, we're not using single-use cups that again are just going to end up in the bin, or you know, a lot of people do just drop them on the floor, they leave them on the street, which you know, we definitely don't want to be doing. So I typically have like one cup for hot drinks, and I've got a water bottle for like my water and cold drinks, and that's it. That's literally all you need, one for each. And you can literally buy these takeaway cups anywhere. I know B&M do tons of them. You can get them in every single supermarket if you look in the kitchen section. So honestly, you don't need to buy anything super expensive. You don't need to buy a Stanley cup. You definitely do not need to be buying a Stanley cup. You can get some really good takeaway cups that are going to last you a really long time for very cheap prices. Number 4, let's talk about good quality Tupperware and food containers. So these are useful for so many things, such as keeping fruit and veg fresh for longer, or for your meal prep. I personally prefer the glass containers instead of plastic because they are great quality and they literally last forever. They're also super easy to clean and they just don't stain. You know how like plastic Tupperware, if you put like a chili in your plastic Tupperware, that Tupperware is going to go orange and you are never going to be able to get that out. But if you use a glass container instead, it just doesn't stain. It is so much easier to clean, and I think it is worth paying like that little bit extra for it. I got all of mine from Tesco, but again, like you can buy these in every supermarket in the kitchen section. B&M again are great for things like Tupperware, because if you go to a big B&M, they've got so many, like they have every single size and every shape that you could ever want. And if you just take good care of them, you're probably never going to have to repurchase your Tupperware. If you get some really good ones, you take care of them properly, that's it. You buy it once, you don't need to buy it ever again. And this also means you're not using things like tin foil and cling film to kind of wrap up your food, because again, these things you're going to use once and you're going to throw it in the bin. Cling film is not very good for the environment at all, so I would always try to not use cling film to wrap my food in. I would always put it in a glass Tupperware instead. So this next one I think is honestly so underrated. Instead of buying books, why not use your local library? Do people still use libraries? I just feel like we've forgotten libraries exist, and a lot of libraries have actually closed down, which is very sad. But if you do live near a library, I would honestly recommend getting full use out of it. A library card is usually free in the UK, and you literally have the choice of like every single book. You have hundreds of books to choose from and you don't have to pay for any of them. But I really feel like borrowing books and then returning them and then borrowing some more books is such a better way of doing it, rather than constantly buying more and more books over and over again. And after you've read it, what you're going to do, you're probably not going to read it again. It's just going to go on your shelf and sit on your shelf and not get any more use. But aside from borrowing books, libraries are also very useful for using computers, accessing Wi-Fi, participating in activities and events. You can access ebooks, e-audio, e-newspapers and magazines, and access online resources. It's literally free and a zero waste activity. You might also spot some street libraries. I don't know if that's actually the name for them, but they seem to be popping up everywhere. This is where you literally bring a book and take a book. It's like a little book swap, and I honestly think it's a great idea. This is one near where I live, and honestly I just think it's such a great idea. I've seen so many people put books in here and I walk past it all the time, and it's literally always filled with new interesting books. So if you see something like this where you live, it is definitely worth having a look at. I've also seen some that look like old red telephone boxes that have been converted into like a little book shop. What is it called? A little book swap? What is it called? A street library? I don't know. I'm gonna look up what it's actually called, but yeah, you know what I mean. Okay, so this last one is for the girls. Have you ever tried a menstrual cup? It basically means you buy it once and you never have to buy tampons, you never have to buy pads, because you've got this one thing that you reuse and you wash it every time, and that's it. You literally buy it once, and I think this is such a great way to save money and save the environment, because again, it's zero waste. And honestly, imagine never having to buy period products again. Like, we all know how expensive period products are these days. Imagine just buying one thing and that's it. You never have to buy anymore ever again. Please let me know if you have used one or not, because I love to hear people's experiences. I know some people don't like them, and that's totally fair, but I definitely think it's worth kind of trying one. I do know you can get some very expensive ones. If you type it into Google, you will see some very expensive brands come up, but trust me, you don't need to be buying these. You can just find them in Superdrug, you can find them in Boots, like the own brand ones, and it's going to do the same job. So I would really recommend just checking them out and seeing if it's for you, because this could really save you a lot of money. So just by making a few really easy sustainable swaps, you could be saving so much money in the long run. And I really hope you found these tips useful. If you did, please leave me a comment with your favorite tip. And again, please comment if you have any of your own tips. I might do a part 2, because I feel like there are so many sustainable swaps that we could be making. And make sure you give this video a like and subscribe for more money saving and smart shopping content.